The dogs stay hot on the recruiting trail. Welcome into the DGD Podcast. As always, Robert Reynolds, Kobe Pierce. Kobe, how's your Thursday?
What's going on, fellas? Juan in the chat, wherever you are. Juan, where's Wando? Already. We got him for one.
Doing it?
Rob and the gang was back for one. Now Juan's on the road again.
Like a Willie Nelson song, like a Willie Nelson song.
Maybe we'll find him sometime in June for some consistency.
Hey, you know what? I mean, he's a hard man to reach. All right, so not gonna knock him too much, but you get what I mean. Obviously doing this show Thursday, not normal with Wednesday. Dogs staying hot. Kobe, that's 3 commitments this week, and I think ended yesterday. So you got 3 commits in 3 days. That's
really,
impressive. That's
really
impressive.
The past 14 days, you had 5.
Yeah,
something like that. I think
you're right. You had Raiola, you had Drew Miller.
Yeah,
and then Monday, right? I think we'll start with Monday. You got 3-star tight end Colton Heinrich. Then early Tuesday, you're looking at Harrison. That's a monster of a man. And then yesterday, Jaden Riddell. It's just that now you got 2 tight ends in 3 days. Todd Hartley is, the Mountie. He never misses his man. He always gets him. But I do want to kind of talk about that though, man. What are your initial thoughts on this hot streak, if you will?
Yeah, I think it's really just kind of getting the kind of the feeling going into the summer of like we're starting to slowly chip away at this class, which me and you've talked about on the podcast a couple times. We knew when Dylan Raiola ever committed, whether it be here, whether it be Nebraska, whether it would have been USC, there are ripples, there are effects to that caliber of player committing to your team. And then with the way the scavenger hunt went this past weekend, a lot of these guys, I think all of these guys actually were present for the scavenger hunt. There's a lot of pressure applied by your quarterback, your coaching staff, like, hey, either you hop on or you're getting left behind. And not in a negative way, but just like, a lot of people are wanting to play tight end at the University of Georgia. If you're Riddell, if you're the guy from Monday, you're wanting to be a part of this. You don't want to wait and say, hey, coach, give me 6 more weeks and then let me finish my visits and then I'll let you know. And it's like, we might have another tight end at that point. That's the risk you kind of take. Unless your name's Jeremiah Smith, we're not waiting around on much. And even there, I think if Wingo commits, we won't wait until National Signing Day on Jeremiah Smith either. That's just kind of how Kirby's been.
I think if anything, you look at these 3 commitments, right, and that to me just drives the nail into the coffin, saying that spots are filling up fast. Get on while you can. Train's about to leave the station, and if your ass ain't there, I'm sorry for you, but we got to keep rolling. Georgia recruiting is the train leaving the station. That's all I can say about that. But I do want to kind of elaborate onto this Jaden Riddell commitment. Listen, I know you lose Landon Thomas, right, which coming out of Colquitt County, number 1 tight end, depending on where you look. I think 24/7 had him as the number 1, but you pick up Colton Heinrich, which I think Colton Heinrich is a solid pickup that a lot of people are probably going to sleep on. But he definitely fits what Georgia's looking for in the tight end room. And I think he was a kind of a low-key necessity for this class. And if I had to really say it, I think you start to look at like his role could be something similar to like I don't know, would it be like a Rylan Goody potentially where you can utilize him, but he definitely can help come in and block and things like that. I think that's where you're going to see the benefit.
I think
that's a perfect example too. Yeah. I mean, listen, you have to understand, right? Like those guys, I feel like I said, I feel like they get very overlooked, and that shouldn't be the case because when you look at guys like John Fitzpatrick, you look at like a Rylan Goody, those guys played a key role too, even if you didn't see them catching passes or, not everybody can be a Brock Bowers, right? And you don't expect them to be that way. Um, Overall, though, I really think that Heinrich commitment was really solid for what it's worth. Especially, I mean, if you watch that Jefferson workout, like Heinrich looked good catching passes from Raiola, like smooth in transition, things like that. But having the ability to put your hand down in the dirt is not always something you see from a high school tight end. So having the ability and comfort there as a high school um, prospect, excuse me, I think that plays a big part in his development moving forward because Todd Hartley's going to have him blocking. And then SC DGD Pat, we're going to go to the brigade for a second. Hello there, Pat. And Joel, JOWG greets him. Fanatic Sports Network, go Dogs. Absolutely, go Dogs. But also, like I said, we're kind of getting back to the tight end situation, right? So you get Colton Heinrich that Monday, but now you got Jaden Riddell. Jaden Riddell is the freak of this in this tight end class for Georgia. I think there was a video going around social media making some stupid plays in the 7-on-7, I think out in Vegas or something. Some of these catches are legit tough as shit to make. And he kind of just made it look easy. And then the ability at 6'5", 230 to do a gainer, which is like running forward and you do a backflip, that's freaky athleticism from a tight end, So Georgia got him another one. Todd Hartley just got him another freak. And it's crazy to see it with Brock Bowers on the team right now. Obviously, we know that I'm assuming Brock will be gone after the season, but it just shows you like if you come to Georgia, like he said, tight ends are going to get utilized, and we know how to utilize them now. So it's nice to see those. What are your thoughts on the Riddell commitment?
Yeah, I think on both commitments, I think that the Trey McKitty, John Fitzpatrick both getting drafted kind of shows you that like you don't have to be the guy catching the majority of the passes here in order for NFL teams to look at you and think that they can use you. I mean, even Darnell Washington at that point. You can be the Brock Bowers here, or you can be someone else and still be an NFL caliber guy in the eyes of many NFL teams. I think that's the biggest thing going forward. The more classes that we're going to start getting a tight end or two that are top elite talents, it may take you a year or two to bust through and be the guy. But don't think that just because you're having to wait your turn doesn't mean you're not, impressing NFL scouts. And so I think that's the big thing about getting the two of them. And some people say, Riddell, what's he looking at? I've seen some Tennessee fans like, it's a big depth chart in front of you. I mean, you still have Oscar Delp, you still have Lawson Lucky, still have Pierce Spurlin. It looks like it's a long road ahead. But I guess it's better to be here and be getting developed and, getting that experience on how to block, how to run routes, how to help chip a defensive end than, be somewhere else and maybe getting to play, but you're only getting to play because they have a lack of talent around you, not a plethora of talent around you.
I think another thing though, man, is like, just imagine how fast a position group can get depleted, right? Because in the world of the transfer portal, anything can happen. So, just imagine, I'm not saying anything like this, but like there's a decent chance, right, at any time that you can have a guy or two leave a room, right? And then all hell breaks loose because you're extremely thin. You have to go to a portal when something's not there, and your room suffers as a result, right? So you load up on this talent. Georgia also rotates, right? Like Georgia rotates tight ends. You're going to get run, right? Like if you go in there and you block and you do these things, you're going to get some playing time. I just see that happening. Regardless, you get developed, like you said. Next thing you know, you're sitting there blocking on crucial downs, and then making nasty catches like Brock Bowers. Not saying you are going to be Brock Bowers, but you get what I mean.
Just in general, like you're saying, being depleted. You look at the room we had last year. You had 6 scholarship tight ends. I think as of right now, you have 4. Well, one of them during the spring goes out, breaks collarbone. All of a sudden, you have 3 for a whole season. And I mean, don't get me wrong, they're phenomenal the three that we have are phenomenal, but that's just not a lot of depth at some point for practice, for things like that. It always helps to have 5, 6 guys available.
I mean, it's the same concept as, I mean, to some degree, it's a different room, but think about the running back room, right? Like when we looked at G-Day, right, you see the situation where you have Roderick Robinson as your only scholarship back. I think, well, Dejon ran like a couple runs, right? Like that's about it. Very, very limited though, so you're down to one scholarship back. Now you look at it now, you're sitting there, you keep Savon Clark after he enters the portal. You bring in Lyneth Whitehead from Tennessee. So you've loaded that room right now just as an insurance policy. Kirby Smart's going to do the same thing if needed to any room for that matter. Because, I mean, you think about it. So now the running back room, you bring in that depth from Lyneth, right? So that's Lyneth, Savon if you need them, right? You got Kendall, Dejon, Branson, Roderick, and Cash Jones, baby. Cash motherfucking Jones as well. Can't forget the Rainmaker. But no, I mean, so you bring in a loaded running back room, right? When, like I said, G-Day showed the depth concerns there. Kirby's, if you need to, Kirby's going to drop that in there and make that class. Like, I just feel like if you can get him through recruiting, high school level like that right there, and not have to worry about the portal as much, I think that's the optimal route. But also, I'm not going to forget about this man, 6'8", 330 range, Marcus Harrison. Added to the offensive line group. Listen, you can't teach that size. I'm not going to believe that at all. But what are your thoughts on that pickup?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that I haven't watched him play a lot, haven't watched a lot of tape, but it definitely is one of those things that I think that sometimes it's always funny to see when we flex, when we want somebody, because I don't think a lot of us had heard of him. I don't think a lot of us were keeping up with him. I don't think a lot of Georgia fans even thought we were in the running for him. I saw a lot of different articles that, he's a Wisconsin lean, he's a Michigan lock, he's all these things. It's like you get him on campus one time and he's like, you know what? We're here. We're in Athens. We're a dog. I just think it's funny. There's always a recruit or two every year that it's like, oh, they're going here, they're going here, they're going here. They visit Athens. It's like, you know what? Just kidding. Athens is going to be home. It's where I'm going to play, all those things. So I think it's nice. Like you're saying, can't teach size. You can't teach being 6'8". You just no matter what. And so even if, you're not the optimal player yet, you got 5 years here to turn into a stud. So I guess it's a low risk, high reward take for the university. I look at who's it, Jacob Hood that went to Nebraska. He's 6'8", 350 coming out of high school. He only stays a year. I understand. I mean, the guy's huge. He's going to be able to play at Nebraska some meaningful snaps. But eventually he would have played here some meaningful snaps. So that'll all just depend on how long he's willing to wait, how long he's willing to be developed. There's still a lot of really good talent in front of him, even when he comes in as a freshman. So it's a good pickup, though. Always love having big bodies.
Yeah, I mean, my thought is Stacey Searles had to see something that he liked enough to go ahead and give him a green light, right? Like that, to me, there's something you have to start to trust in these coaches. Like if they give him a green light, there's something there that they saw, right? Like what is it? That's for us to do, break down and stuff like that and try to find, right? Decipher why we think they may have given the green light. But apparently it was enough to give him the green light and he jumped on board, right? Like maybe it's a 6'8", 330. Don't know. Haven't really done the necessary digging to really break it down enough. But at the same time, that's another commitment on the board on an offensive line class. And I feel like in the 24 cycle, Kobe, you got to hit all of your shots here with what you're about to lose. These offensive line commitments are, to me, going to be under a microscope because of the necessity for these guys to come in and produce. What are your thoughts on that?
The next two classes, 24, 25, I think, because really what you're talking about is after this year, you're going to lose 4 of your starting 5 offensive linemen. I think you very easily could lose, Tate, Truss, Cedric, and Mims. Boom, 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 boom. I would be surprised.
Yep, I think that will
If you
happen.
don't, I guess, at this point. So then that leaves
I'm with
you,
you.
a room of it depends if Ernest Green or Austin Blask start, I guess, left tackle this year. So you get one, if not both of them, most likely back this next year to play your two tackles.
You still got Fairchild as well
that could play center for you, and then there's Micah Morris, I think, that's played some guard, some second.
Micah Morris is ridiculous.
Yeah. But so yes. I mean, you still have probably another year's worth of depth, another year, maybe two worth of depth that's been, recruited. But I'm with you. In the next 2 years, you got to have some big hits, and it'd be nice. I think it's Daniel Calhoun, who's the tackle.
Daniel Calhoun, I feel like is the must-have for this class.
I think he's a good one. And then I know you're really in it for the number one player in the country next year. That's the offensive tackle from North Carolina,
David Sanders. Yeah, up here on a Providence Day. Speaking of Providence Day, Chris Peel. Did you hear about this? Chris Peel won a state title up here in North Carolina in the 100-meter. You want to hear this? 10.48 into headwind. For those that don't know track, that is stupid. Like, I'm just going to keep it simple to you. That's stupid fast, especially running into wind, by the way. So a sub 10.5, that is moving, absolutely moving. I think Chris is like 6 feet tall too. So that's booking it. Thought that was a little fun fact, by the way.
That is a fun fact.
But where's the Pat facts? We ain't saw a Pat fact in ages.
It's been a while. Pat's been kind of sleeping on us lately. And you're right, Pat. You haven't been bringing the energy into the shows like I've been looking for.
Is this
maybe it's because Rude's haven't been here. Maybe Pat's only excited when Rude's is here.
Pat gets the barking, apparently, But no, so you look at, like we talk about the offensive line class, right? Like Daniel Calhoun, I feel like a must-have here.
Casey is the other one, obviously.
Well, yes and no. I'm kind of curious to see how he plays out. Like,
not saying must-have, but I'm saying like he's the other big.
He's a nice target to have. Absolutely. He's the other big. I think I would like to flip Cam Pringle from South Carolina. I'd love to see that happen if possible. Not saying it will happen, but I'd love to see it because Cam Pringle's a legit guy. Like, I don't care what anyone says. Like, that's a bona fide dude.
I was talking to a buddy of mine the other day, actually, and we were looking that both the tackles from South Carolina, both top 5, that are committed to South Carolina or from South Carolina. And we were talking about just how embarrassing is that if you're Clemson, that, 2 of the top players in your state are both going to South Carolina at this point.
Well, the problem is Clemson has also had an issue with offensive line play. It's been what they call mid.
I'm just saying though. I mean, you're the team with the trophies. You're the team with the rings. You're the team with all these things to brag and talk about. And basically, you're getting bullied by South Carolina.
I mean, it's locker season. It's bully ball time. People getting stuffed into lockers. Listen, Riddell stuffed some Tennessee folks up in the locker there. Neither here nor there, though. I'm just gonna let y'all keep that and sleep on it. But at the same time, right? We just talked about these commitments, right? Georgia solidifying themselves as the number one class for now, right? I think there's still some moves to be made on Georgia's part, right? To maybe try to take a swing at the all-time record if you look at rankings like that. But at the same time, right? Like we talk about the scavenger hunt, the impact there. Keep in mind, folks, the first weekend of June is about to be ridiculous. June official visits seem to be fast, furious, and loaded with talent every week. I'm looking. I mean, you got Dylan Raiola taking his OV June 2nd as well, and I think there's like 5 5-stars slated to take their official visits as well. I think Ellis Robinson changed his official visit to June 2nd. You've got I think Gibson, the Texas running back. Jarrett Gibson, I think he is coming the 2nd. I'm looking forward to the first weekend of June. I feel like this is about to be some insanity. What are your thoughts? Now, we're going to talk about this more as we get closer. but I'm definitely keeping my ears and my eyes peeled because there's some potential to make some huge waves there. What are your thoughts on that first or the June official visits coming up? Wait a minute. What is this? Is this breaking news? I don't even know. No, it's not.
Okay. I was pulling up 247 on my other page. So I can look. I was wanting to look. I can't remember what the kid's name is from Darty for some reason. Shame on me for that.
What is it?
The running back from Darty. He's committed to Florida State right now.
Bowens, Chauncey Bowens.
Is that his name?
Yeah. Don motherfucking Juan has made his presence. Driving through beautiful Arizona. Only thing that makes me sick. It's next to the trash state. Couldn't have put that any better. Couldn't have put it any better.
Cameron Davis.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Cameron Davis. Okay. Now I knew they had Bowens as well, running back, Florida.
No, Florida. I was talking about Florida State.
Oh.
Well, you just were talking about Jared Gibson, and so I was looking at, like, right now we have Dwight Phillips Jr. I think it's really one of those classes you could take a second running back in again, because I mean you definitely are risking losing Kendall Milton, possibly losing Dejon, depending on how it kind of goes, or you could even see, I think, some portal talk out of, you got some guys in that room that have waited and may have to continue to wait depending on what happens. So I always like to take 2 running backs if we can.
I think Georgia's going to take 3 running backs this cycle, or at least push for it. I mean, because you got to keep Dwight Phillips. Dwight Phillips, that dude is ridiculously fast. Yeah. I mean, you've got Jared Gibson. You're into this top 5. I don't feel confident. I feel like he's a Texas guy, but that's just me. I mean, you look at Nate Frazier. I think is the name that you might want to keep an eye out for. Kevin Riley out of Tuscaloosa City. Not saying we'll land him, but I mean that's right in Bama's backyard. It'd be fun to watch Georgia land somebody from Tuscaloosa. It would be wild to see. And then, like I said, Bowens, man, if you could flip him from Florida, I think Bowens is a good running back in this class too. There's actually some good running backs in this class. It's not loaded like you saw last year, in my opinion, but still, I mean, Georgia's going to push for 3, I would assume, considering, like you said, all the losses that you're about to see. Cam is good.
But you're saying, with it being a good class, there's 25 running backs inside the top 300.
Yeah, that's insane.
That's moving.
Yeah, it is confirmed by the GOAT himself that Cam is good. Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily want to look at the portal unless we absolutely have to. So, like, if we only get 2 running backs, then you might look at the portal for sure. But at the same time, Cash Jones could come in and be RB1. Don't sleep on Cash. All right. But yeah, I mean, dude, June, like, kind of get back to it. June is ridiculous, and it seems to be that way, yearly now, right? Every June is always wild because June and July, like especially July, you start to see recruiting pick up again, right? Like you see a lot of commitments and stuff, a flurry of them, not just for Georgia, but across the country, right? Like across the country, you see a bunch of pops, right? Commits popping and stuff.
For most of you listening, I mean, and watching, you kind of understand that now with the early signing day being in December, that a lot of these recruits, these top recruits, they've been recruited for years, since 8th, maybe 9th grade. If you're a top 30 recruit, you haven't just recently become a top 30 recruit. Normally, sometimes it's true. You climb the rankings late in your career, you hit a growth spurt, you get stronger, whatever. But most of these guys have been getting serious college attention since 13, 14 years old. Well, a lot of them are probably now, with the early signing day, going to early enroll in January. So the last semester of their high school career is going to be the fall while they're playing football. Many of them are wanting to have the uncertainty of where home is going to be resolved by the end of July. And that way, in the fall, if they want to take a trip or 2 to where they are going to be, for college, they can. But it's not necessarily like, oh, well, this weekend I'm going to Oregon. Next weekend I'm going to USC. The next weekend I'm going to Georgia. But also I'm trying to play, a home football game on Friday night. that just gets to be a little old at some point for these guys that have gotten that love and stuff. So I think that's why you like to see, like Sammy Brown even said, next 6-7 weeks he's going to be done. He's going to take his 5 officials, take a week or two to kind of contemplate his decision, and then by the time July rolls around, he's going to commit, and that'll be it. And I think that's what you see out of these the top tier recruits that are getting off. They've had these offers for a long time.
Yeah, you talk to recruits like that, man, and it's just like, I'm glad it's over. You know what I mean? Like, I could only imagine, right? Like the fact that you get your phone blown up for so long by so many different people at all times a day, like coaches coming to your high school, doing all this, doing all that, you going to visit schools, all the stuff that goes into a recruitment process. Like, I would be glad to. So get it out of the way earlier so you don't have to worry about it. Makes sense to me. And then also you can focus on school. You can focus on your senior year, right? Like you can focus on your high school football team at that point you know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, it makes sense that you start to see these guys earlier and earlier, right? Like how many, like Georgia fans for some reason, man, like we stress, right? Like Georgia at times can fall to like third or fourth, and we're like, what are we doing? What's going on? It's the end of the world. You've already got most of your class like committed. You close on several guys. You finish the class up, and then like recently, if you notice, like I think we only had like 3 or 4 that didn't enroll early. I think like almost 20 of the guys are enrolled early last class. That matters because then, especially if you're in a bowl practices, that matters if you're coming in and you get ahead of the curve. You know what I mean? So I think you're starting to see a lot of schools push for it as well. I feel like it's becoming the new standard. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, especially these guys, these top recruits that are like, I want to only be there 3 years and declare as a junior. But also, I mean, different NIL deals, different things like that I don't always agree with. They definitely push coming on and getting paid. But then, honestly, if you're going to have a chance to play as a freshman, like you have got to be here normally in the spring. You have got to go through winter workouts, spring runs, spring practice, spring game, summer workouts, summer runs, fall camp. You've got to get all of that to these elite schools because, like Georgia, that's quite a playbook. That's a playbook unlike anything you've ever seen in high school. And not only are you going to have to understand it, you're going to have to perform on the field in front of other starters, other guys that have been here 2-3 years. You definitely could use that extra 6 months of preparation time because, if you get here in June, you've probably never been away from mama. You're in class every day. Obviously used to that in high school, but like a college class every day. You have workouts, you have tutoring, you have mentoring, you have meals you can't miss. You have all these things that is just basically thrown at you. And on top of that, you're having meetings about the playbook. You're having meetings about your position. You're having, you're learning different things about your position. Like if you're a linebacker, you're probably learning like different coverages that the DBs run because you're having to communicate and know what you're doing off of those. And all that time, you're just very overwhelmed at that point. And so, it tends not to work out as well for those student athletes.
Absolutely. So JOGG asks, which recruit are you each most excited about? Kobe, do you want to take that first or do you want me to do it?
You take it first. I'm working on something.
Okay. To me, I think the easy answer is Dylan Raiola. Just, bringing a 5-star quarterback in, number 1 guy in the country, right? I think that matters. The reason why I'm excited is to see the evolution of the offense and from a recruiting standpoint, right? What does that mean moving forward? Because I think if you look at what it could mean, if Dylan Raiola comes in and has success and you see him, doing very well under a Bobo offense, I'm just saying that could translate to future quarterbacks, elite quarterbacks, looking at Georgia and say, I can go there, I can get developed, I can get drafted extremely high, and I can win titles. So for me, Dylan Raiola, but to make it interesting, give me Ellis Robinson. I think that kid is a freak, um, absolute freak, and I can't wait to see him holding down the secondary spot. Uh, Bishop Don saying that Juan saying that's what Malachi did. Yeah, Malachi Starks is a perfect example. Kobe, well, who do you got? Who are you most excited about? Excuse me.
That's currently committed or that I think will commit.
Let's just stick to current commits.
Yeah, I think the easy answer is Raiola. I mean, it's one of those things that he's a quarterback commit unlike anything since Justin Fields. And then even before that, if he ends up playing since Matthew Stafford, you've kind of been in this lull of, well, we see what this offense can do with Stetson Bennett, a walk-on at the helm. You're going to get kind of a taste this year with Carson Beck of this is what a guy that has, all the measurables can do in this offense. And then eventually, in a year or two, you're going to have Dylan where, okay, this is the offense. This is, this is different things that he's able to look at. I think Riddell's going to be a good player too. Always excited to get a big body. It's one of those things that Brock Bowers wasn't the number one tight end in his class. Darnell wasn't the number one tight end in his class. There's some different things like that are just interesting when you go and get a guy like Riddell who's number 3 or number 4, like what Todd Hartley kind of sees in him.
Yep. I think you look at Puglisi, considering he stays, I think that's another intriguing prospect that could do some good things here too. Boy, Juan is going off in the chat. I'm not going to say what it is. This is why sometimes you need to watch the YouTube videos. Just go leave that there. That's interesting to hear, though. It really is interesting if that's true. Oof. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying that's wild to think about it, though. I think to who you're talking about, Juan, get him in the Bobo system. I think you'll be just fine when you get the talent around him. I am curious to see, though, how the senior season plays out, though. Let's see. I think there's another one. I was trying to remember who it was. Oh my word, who is it? DeMello. Sorry, DeMello. DeMello Jones, I think, will be interesting too. I'm curious to see how he comes in. I know it's kind of a name that you're not necessarily thinking about like that, but like coming in as a cornerback, I think you're going to have to see, several cornerbacks step up, and I think DeMello could be one of those guys. I know you got a bunch of safeties that could convert, but I think DeMello's just an interesting name too. I mean, I don't want to leave out Dwight Phillips either. I think Dwight Phillips could bring that speed back to the running back room that we missed out on. But yeah, no, I think looking at that right there, I think it'll be pretty interesting to see. Listen, I think Georgia's not done by any means, right, on the recruiting trail. I'm just going to let you know that right now. There could be some big names pop off at any time. You don't know. Kirby Smart, which makes me pose a question. Kobe, you played under Kirby Smart. Is Kirby Smart a momentum recruiter? Yes or no?
Oh, I think that the answer is very easily yes. I would say recruiting in itself is a momentum thing. You start landing some big guys and dominoes fall no matter what school you are. I think it kind of depends. We were talking about this the other day as well. The only school I think that it doesn't seem to be that way for is kind of Alabama. Like, kind of the way I see our guys do it, and it just could be because I don't pay attention as much over there. But like when I see like Georgia get a commit or like Ohio State, guys like that, it seems like they have some guys that are outwardly recruiting more recruits. And when I look at Raiola, how he's kind of taken the helm and gone, we want to get this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy. I look at like Sayin at Alabama. He's committed, and he's kind of like, I'm committed, and we're going to take whoever Nick Saban brings in, and that's who we're going to play with. And I kind of feel like, Nick opens the rings, sits them down, explains the process to them, and then he lets them decide either yes or no. It's not really as much of like, well, we got this guy, and this guy committed. Wouldn't you like to play with them? It's more like, wouldn't you like to play at the University of Alabama? And
yeah, I feel like Georgia's slowly trying to do that too. I mean,
no doubt, but I'm just saying we definitely still, like you're saying, we get hot and we go on a streak where we get 5 commits, and it's really exciting, which I think is great. I think that builds excitement about a class.
Yeah, because I mean, my thing is like you look at Georgia trying to establish themselves as the standard now, right? Like they're working on it. Once you get yourself to that point, like most of the recruiting is done by your brand. Like, not saying all of it, right? Because I mean, it's in the world of NIL, like things like brand don't always matter as much, right? Like it helps with money being brought in, but it doesn't necessarily mean, everything. So, it does help to have that momentum, right? Like especially with recent news, right? I mean, like Marcus Rosemy news, that negative impact and the fact that it's continuing to happen is really a test, like just bad news, bad publicity, if you will. But then to get 3 popped off, it kind of, as a fan, it makes you overlook it temporarily. You know what I mean? So it makes sense that you see that. But at the end of the day, like the bad stuff, listen, it's another speeding incident after we saw what happened in January that just can't happen. It can't continue to happen, but it is. It's just one of these things where like you just want to tell these people, listen, like, did you not learn anything? I mean, you trust Kirby Smart to handle it the right way and applicably, how it needs to be handled. But damn, I mean, if it wasn't for these commits, like you start to hear a bunch of bad shit about Georgia, and then you're going to hear that regardless. People are going to try to dig up dirt on Georgia all the time. Right? But from a Georgia's fan perspective, you have that situation where look at all these commits we've got. Like it helps us put the bad shit behind us and keep talking about the current state, the present, or the future, all this stuff. I think momentum is necessary. Momentum recruiting is necessary, and Kirby knows when to do that shit. So I think there's going to be some more commits too. I just don't know when. I mean, you never know. There might pop one off. There might one pop today. You never really know, right? I mean, 3 days, wouldn't be surprised at this point. Kobe, did you know, Kobe, did everyone watching know that as of May 25th, there are exactly 100 days left until Georgia football? Did you know that?
I did know that because I follow the DGD Podcast on Twitter and Instagram.
Oh, my word. Oh, my. Also, Georgia football account posted it, but neither here nor there. But now the Classic City Countdown has officially begun. The hashtag Classic City Countdown, by the way. Get that shit popping on Twitter and Instagram. But yeah, 100 days left. Remember, it is sponsored by Apotheos, right? So I'll bring up the details for anyone that has not heard it yet. The Classic City Countdown consists of basically starting tomorrow through game day, September 2nd, Spike Squad, the UGA Spike Squad, their social media accounts, along with the DGD Podcast social media accounts, will be posting countdown graphics. What that means is on every day that the DGD Podcast posts a graphic, right, for the countdown, Apotheos Coffee, you will get 5% off of your entire order, and they will also 20% of proceeds will go to the Classic City Collective, using our link on our website. Go to dgdpodcast.com/Apotheos. And on days that we, the DGD Podcast, post, 5% off your order using code COUNTDOWN. That's code COUNTDOWN. But when days that the UGA Spike Squad post their countdown graphic, Apotheos will do the same thing, but that percentage will jump from 5 to 30. And that code is DGD. So use code DGD on days that the Spike Squad posts their countdown graphics to get 30% off, and the 20% of proceeds will go to the collective. Also, there will be a link that you can use on our website, dgdpodcast.com/Spike Squad, or watch for the Spike Squad. Use their link. They will be posting a link to Alumni Hall. So you shop Alumni Hall throughout this countdown. And what you're doing is actually supporting the Spike Squad, because the DGD podcast will take proceeds from their sales and send money to them directly. So that way they can help with equipment, travel, things like that. So we're doing our part to help out the Spike Squad because they're doing their part and they support the DGD podcast. So we just want to make sure that everyone's taken care of. So that is the Apotheos Classic City Countdown. Listen, this Genesis blend right here, folks, delicious. Absolutely delicious. Kobe, you've had the K-Cups before. They've also got K-Cups, by the way. What are your thoughts on the K-Cups?
They're good. They're quality.
Good stuff, see? Good stuff. Now, listen, if you haven't had Apotheos coffee, then I promise you, just talk to Tate Ratledge. I ain't even going to have to be the testimonial. Talk to Tate Ratledge. Rylan Goody, by the way, too. Also, the show is brought to you by our friends over at Alumni Hall. DGDpodcast.com/Alumni Hall, located in Athens, GA, 10 minutes away from Sanford Stadium. Licensed Nike, Cutter & Buck, 47 brand, Yetis, all these accessories, all this apparel, all licensed, by the way. Check them out right there. Use code DG or mention the show, DGD Podcast, in store to get 10% off your order, by the way. Kobe, we've had a decent show today, I would say. I feel like we could be elite. I just say we could be elite because Juan Daniels was not showing his face today.
Well, I got an elite thing that's been getting me lately.
Ooh, what you got?
So the offseason, it's a lot of talk from Georgia fans for just being Clemson 2.0. You've only won 2 natties. You've only beaten Bama once. Kind of the same spiel that Clemson kind of gave where they won 2 in 5 years or whatever it was. So we'll go recruiting rankings for Clemson since they won their second natty. And then we'll do Georgia's over the same period of time. Clemson was 12th in 2019, the year right after they won with Trevor. Then 3rd, which was great, in 2020. That was Brian Brise and all those guys. Then they went to 5th. And then 14th this past year, or 2 years ago. 15th, the class they just signed, and are currently 21st next year. In that same amount of time since Clemson won in 2019, we've finished 2nd, 1st, 3rd, 3rd again, 2nd in this past class, and are currently 1st in next class, and actually, just for fun fact, currently 1st in the next class as well.
Jesus Christ.
Tell me where that is Clemson 2.0.
I'll tell you this. You can get away with that, with those rankings in the ACC or any other conference. You can't do that in the SEC. Sorry. I mean, how many times have we saw a top 15 program? Think about this, Florida, right? Under Dan Mullen would land in the top 15, right? They're maybe 14, 15 range. And they would be in the literal middle of the pack in the SEC conference rankings. Like, to me, that just shows you, like, recruiting. Like, if you're in the SEC for the most part and you want to compete for a title, you have to be top 5 at minimum. Right? Because you think about it, Bama and Georgia, and sometimes LSU as well, have been in the top 5. They're the only ones close to competing for a title. Tennessee, close, but I need to see more consistency to really put them into that group. Yeah, I think Tennessee will be just fine with recruiting, but you got to get into the top 5, at least from an SEC perspective. So, yeah, I love that you brought that up. Which fan base is calling us Clemson 2.0?
Oh, just everybody. Mostly Alabama.
Fair
But
enough. Fair
hey, listen, until you win the third one, whatever.
I'm just saying right
But
now,
all I'm
if
saying
people,
is you don't want to see either of us or Juan, or probably anybody in this chat, if you win 3 in a row.
I think people might just want to stay fuck off Twitter and Instagram and shit because it's going to be unruly.
Well, forever. It'll be the best 3 years of college football ever, forever.
I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, didn't they say like Minnesota did that stuff back in like the 30s or something like that? Is that even like? I think that was when Juan was a freshman or something.
I listened to a Twitter space the other day. It's just hard to it's hard to listen to any national title that has been claimed before when schools were still segregated, basically. Like,
listen, we have to count the 42 titles in one of those situations too.
And hey, I will. I'm telling you, I'll count it. I will gladly say that, pre 1970, give or take. I don't want to hear it really. How good?
The fun part is you still got 3, so we'll be seeing. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I know we're going to talk more about the schedule and everything. Listen, like I said, we're 100 days until Georgia football, folks. Keep that in mind. I'm waiting to see, Kobe. There were some announcements for game times kicking off. Some SEC programs were showing off their kickoff times. I want to say, was it the Egg Bowl is Black Friday, like a 3:30 slot or something like that. I think. Don't quote me 100%, but a Black Friday game. I don't know how to feel about Black Friday games. A lot of people are shopping at that point, right? Getting ready for Christmas time and Santa Claus to come. Is that accurate? I just try to avoid it.
I'm ready. I don't know the thing I saw with the whole Friday thing, which the Egg Bowl is probably staying put. But did you see the Penn State Michigan State game got moved to Ford Field?
I don't know how to feel about that.
I can tell you how I feel about that. I don't like it. I'll tell you.
There you
go. Flat out. Especially because
why would they do it though? I mean, what's the logic? What were they trying to prove the logic?
It's part of their TV deal with Fox, I believe, that they like. They flexed the game to be Friday at Ford Field. The problem is I think it's like it was supposed to be Michigan State's maybe like last home game, so it's literally should have been Senior Day against Penn State, and instead you're going to play at Ford Field 2 hours away, and then like everybody was saying, odds are that it's going to have like the Lions logo at center field. Like it's not. It's just going to be ugly, basically.
Basically, it's going to be a shit show.
Well, I mean, you could make it not be. You could, if you made it look like Michigan State Stadium, whatever. I think that'd be fine. But you basically take away a premier game from Sparty to have on Senior Day and make.
Mel Tucker needed all the momentum to keep these guys, keep his job up there, man, and that's not helping. That's not helping. Not at all. Also, since we did our last show, to be held in Jacksonville until the 25. It's extended through the 25 season. So no chance of movement there until they do the renovations. What do you think about that?
I think it'll be one of those things that it'll either appease everyone or it'll make everybody just more adamant about moving it.
Yeah. I'll tell you right now, man. I know we were talking a lot of recruiting here. Dude, I went to Grimsley. You went to Grimsley this week? Dude, I'm telling y'all right now, if you know me, y'all know who I'm talking about. But if you don't know, and this is your first time watching or first time listening, do yourself a favor and go check out Bryce Davis. This kid is a freaking animal, man. Listed on 3, listed him at 6'4", 230. When I saw him, he looked like 6'4", 240, like a legit 6'4", 240. I put a little bit of weight on for the spring. But just some of the things he's able to do as a rising junior in the 25 class it's insane, folks. Wrote up an article about that on Patreon, patreon.com/DGD Podcast. Go check that out if you'd like. Also, I think that's it, Kobe. Enough of my talk. Remember, folks,
Let's roll. See you Monday.
Get you some coffee, folks. DGDpodcast.com/Apatios. Go get you some coffee. All right, go get you some coffee because it's some good shit. I promise you that. With that being said, hopefully Monday, Juan will be off the road like Willie Nelson. Finally off the road, maybe, and could get back in to the confines of the DGD podcast studio.
I have a question real quick. And this we can hear it for everybody. I would say this off camera. Monday's a holiday. Are we
Monday? Is it bad that I forgot about that?
Are we going to push it to Tuesday because
I don't know. Let's make a decision. Drop your comments. Let us know what you think. We'll stay on for a minute.
Co-host would say Tuesday here since it's a holiday and I won't have to be at work.
But you'll be in the confines of D Block though, right?
No, new house. So we may do it. We'll talk. We'll discuss. We'll see.
I thought it'd be interesting, but we'll discuss more. So stay tuned to that. Keep up to date on the social media accounts. We'll let you know. So keep that in mind for those listening as well. You may have a delay by a day, right, due to the holiday potentially. So just keep that on your radar. Kobe, other than that, I think we're good to go, man. Recruiting back like we never left. Simple as that. Man, what a time to be a dog. What a time to be a dog fan. With that being said, folks, have a great day. Enjoy your weekend, long weekend. Happy Memorial Day in advance. And go Dogs.
Go Dogs.